Well, hello there, how are you? Hey, did you do something different with your hair? It looks nice. Did I ever mention that I like vegetables? Even as a kid, I loved to eat vegetables, except for Brussels sprouts and peas. Yuck, I hate those. But anyway, today we're going to talk about a film that was first shown on Mystery Science Theater 3000 on January 27th, 1990. It's the 1957 film called Untamed Youth, starring Mamie Van Doren, Lori Nelson, John Russell, Don Burnett, Lurene Tuttle, and others. Now, this was the Mystery Science Theater 3000 episode where Gypsy developed a problem. She couldn't stop making cotton after Joel told her to do so. And she also makes a second at Tom, which Joel ends up destroying. So anyway. Youth turn rock and roll wild on the punishment farm that makes them wilder. Turn a searing spotlight on teenage cons in a house of correction. Or so the poster says. For those new to the show, I'm going to talk about a film that was shown on Mystery Science Theater 3000, but I'm going to talk more about the film and not so much about Joel and the Bots, though there'll be a little at the end. Now, this film came out in perhaps the golden age of drive-in cinema. The first drive-in movie theater began in 1933 in New Jersey, but it wasn't until the 1950s that they really took off. Because drive-ins were limited to one showing of a film per night, unlike indoor theaters which could show a film over and over all day, the big studios preferred their A films to be in indoor theaters. Between that and the cost of A films, drive-ins usually stuck to B films. And with the rise of independent teens who had their own cars, Hollywood and independent filmmakers began to concentrate on the youth market. Cheap horror and rock and roll films were the thing. By 1958, the number of drive-ins peaked at over 4,000 theaters. And this was the time of the rock and roll film. The year before, you had films like Don't Knock the Rock, 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 Shake, Rattle, and Rock, and Rock Around the Clock. You also had rebellious teen films like Rebel Without a Cause, Hot Rod Girls, The Delinquents, and so on. So I guess combining them both just made sense. The film stars the one and only Mamie Van Doren, and I'll have more on her later, but if you're a fan of Mamie, I did a biography of her and a tribute video that are both still on this channel for your viewing pleasure, so you might want to check them out. Now, Untamed Youth was filmed in 2 weeks in Bakersfield, which is just north of Los Angeles in California. I couldn't find out how much the budget was for this film, but I couldn't imagine it was a lot of money. Now for this film, if you like stereotypes, this film has every stereotype imaginable. But this film is harmless. It's just one of those films that can be fun to watch if you don't take it too seriously. And there's some playful dancing, and a few of those dancers are pretty entertaining. Someone once asked me if Untamed Youth had any social significance related, Mamie. I don't know about that, but it sure is sociable. Anyway, I don't like pictures with messages because I never seem to get the message myself. The film was directed by Howard W. Koch. Howard was a producer and director who lived from 1916 to 2001. He started out as a second unit or assistant director in 1944, and in 1955 became both a producer and director. This was only his third film as director. A couple of his other directorial efforts were Born Reckless in 1958, which also starred Mamie Van Doren, and Frankenstein 1970, which was made in 1958. He was more known as a producer, producing such films as The Odd Couple from 1968, Once Is Not Enough from 1975, and Airplane from 1980. The screenplay was by John C. Higgins. John lived from 1908 to 1995. Some of his other writing credits were Kid Glove Killer from 1942, Big House USA from 1955, and Daughters of Satan from 1972. Of course, the star of the film was the remarkable Mamie Van Doren, who plays Penny Lowe. Mamie was born Joan Lucille Olander on February 6, 1931, and as of this recording is still alive today. She is 93 years old. She was discovered by Howard Hughes at the age of 19. shortly after she was crowned Miss Palm Springs in 1949. I'm sure Howard did what he did to many young women, promised them stardom but never fulfilling on that promise. So after a few small parts, she signed with Universal, who were looking for someone to compete with 20th Century Fox's Marilyn Monroe. But after some time with Universal, in which she received only small parts, she was let go and became a freelance actor. Untamed Youth was her first film as a headliner. She would go on to be in such films as High School Confidential in 1958, Guns, Girls, and Gangsters from 1959, Girls Town also from 1959, and Sex Kittens Go to College in 1960. In her appearance in this film, she apparently was the first woman to sing rock and roll on film. And since there was no choreographer on set, Mamie made up her own dancing. Mamie Van Doren always takes 2 pairs of blue jeans in her satchel to the set of Untamed Youth. She wears them so tight, they usually split. Now that's news. Her wiser and younger sister in the film, Jeanne Lowe, was played by the equally beautiful Lori Nelson. Lori was born Dixie K. Nelson and lived from 1933 to 2020. At age 7, she contracted rheumatic fever, which left her bedridden for 4 years. When she was 17, she won the title of Miss Encino and then worked as a model. She was signed by Universal Pictures in 1950 and had a pretty successful time there, including films like Francis Goes to West Point in 1952 and Revenge of the Creature in 1955. One other film she was in was All American in 1953, a film that also had Mamie Van Doren. Both Van Doren and Nelson left Universal at the same time, and both were signed to be in this film, but that caused a problem. Lori later said, "We both left Universal and were freelancing, and both of us wound up in this picture. Howard wanted to give her first billing because she was really a hot item about that time. She wouldn't do it unless she had star billing. I said, no, I'm a bigger star than she is. And he begged and pleaded and begged and pleaded, and finally he said, look, I'll give you an extra bonus. And I said, no, I don't think so. He said, I'll throw in a TV. And I said, oh, Howard, if you want it that bad, go ahead and do it. It really didn't make that much difference to me, and I got some perks out of it. But from what I read, the two didn't have any issues on set and got along together pretty well. Now, Lori would go on to work mostly in TV, including the television version of How to Marry a Millionaire in 1957 and 1958. The evil Ross Trupp was played by John Russell, who lived from 1921 to 1991. John was an American actor who had a pretty successful career starting in 1945. He appeared in a lot of westerns, but was never really a star. His biggest role was on the TV series Lawman, in which he played Marshal Dan Trupp from 1958 to 1962. Judge Cecilia Steele was played by Lurene Tuttle. Lurene lived from 1907 to 1986. She began in vaudeville and then moved to radio and then the motion pictures. She had small roles in such films as Orson Welles' Macbeth in 1948, Mr. Blanding Builds His Dream House in 1948, Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho in 1960, and Don't Bother to Knock in 1952. But she was more famous for her TV work, making over 100 appearances on the tube between 1950 and 1986. Don Burton plays her son in the film, Bob Steele. Don was born November 3, 1930, and never really had much of an acting career, most of his work being uncredited. Jeanne Carmen played Lilibet. Jeanne lived from 1930 to 2007. She was a burlesque dancer and then a model, appearing as a pinup girl in several men's magazines. From there, she moved into B films, appearing in such movies as Guns Don't Argue from 1957 and The Monster of Piedras Blancas, also from 1957. Now, rumors had gone around that Jeanne and Eddie Cochran had an affair during the making of this movie, even though she was 8 years younger than he was. American rock and roller Eddie Cochran plays Bong. Eddie lived from 1938 to 1960. If you don't know Cochran, his songs include Summertime Blues, Come On Everybody, and 20 Flight Rock.
So I walk 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, fly 8, fly more. Up on the 12th, I'm ready to drag. 15th, before I'm starting to sing. Get to the top, I'm too tired to rock.
which is the tune that Paul McCartney played to John Lennon that got him into the Quarrymen, a band that would have some success later when they changed their name to the Beatles. Sadly, Eddie was killed in a car accident at the age of 21 when the driver of the taxi he was riding in lost control and crashed into a concrete lamppost. Now, the last actor I want to talk about is Yvonne Lima's baby. If there's perfect casting, this is it. Yvonne was born on April 7, 1935. She had a very short career that lasted from 1956 to 1968. A couple of her films were I Was a Teenage Werewolf from 57 and Dragstrip Riot from 58. She retired from acting in 1969 when she married a very successful and rich American executive producer named Don Fedderson. What is Untamed Youth? Well, during the opening credits, we are treated to a rockin' tune as a young man is being chased and then captured by the police. Once that's done, two young ladies are swimming in a pond when a local small-town sheriff pulls up and orders them out.
Will you go away first?
Oh, that'd be neglected duty.
Well, at least turn around.
Luckily, the sheriff gets distracted, letting the two ladies climb out and get dressed without him seeing them in their wet underwear. The girls are Penny and Jane Lowe, entertainers from Decoy, Illinois, who are hitchhiking to Los Angeles. But in this small town, hitchhiking is illegal, and the two are found guilty in court. The judge is Cecilia Steele, and she seems more interested in her returning son rather than justice. She sends the ladies to work on a farm picking cotton for 30 days. The cotton farm is run by Ross Trupp, and spoiler, he's our bad guy. We also meet a few others that have been sentenced to pick cotton, including a young girl they call Baby.
How did you know to call me that?
What?
That's what everybody calls me. Baby.
I should think so.
We also learn that the sheriff might be corrupt. Now, Trupp has a housekeeper, Lilibet, who we assume does more for him than clean the house. But when he suspects her of cheating on him, he kicks her back to the cotton fields. This is a bit hypocritical because he is married in secret to Judge Steele. We are treated to the first song sung by Penny Lowe while her sister skillfully plays guitar.
Stone. Want to know that when I turn the key, there is something waiting there for me instead of blues and empty.
When Lilibet returns to the bunks with the other girls, she has a bit of an attitude and begins a fight.
Break her neck. Oh, break her neck.
Break whose neck?
Who cares? Anybody's.
And the boys watch through a peek hole in the wall. But the two fighting women end up as friends as they realize they have a common enemy, and everybody goes to dinner happy.
Guess if we want to fight, we will, huh?
Oh, no. You're too tough for me. Come on, let's go to chow, kid.
Come on, Penny. Wait a minute. I gotta get dressed.
Judge Steele's son Bob arrives on a plantation to work. But most of Trupp's workers work for free. Soon after, we see Trupp blackmailing the other cotton farmers for work that they desperately need. And while the youngsters pick cotton, they have time for a little singing.
Oh, you ain't gonna make a cotton picker out of me. Boom, boom, boom. No, you ain't gonna make a cotton picker out of me. Boom, boom, boom. You can make me laugh, make me cry, shake the stars right out of the sky, but you ain't gonna make a...
And unfortunately, this is the only singing we get from Eddie Cochran. After the song, Bob discovers Baby passed out. She might be having health problems. And I could be wrong about this, but even though Trupp is married to Judge Steele, I get the feeling that he might not really be in love with her. Actually, I don't think the film could have made that more clear. Now, after a hard day in the field, the gang still has a little energy for dancing. And Penny can't help to do a little singing, which all the others seem to enjoy.
Young 15, love my Joe. Sweet 16, let him know. 17, got the clue. Now at 18, oh, baby, here's my Joe. Oh, baby, love him so.
The fry cook recognizes her talent and uses his influence to get her an audition with Trupp because he also owns a local radio station. Mr. Trupp agrees to see her, but I don't think it was for her singing.
Blonde with a sister?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sure, I'll listen to her. Send her up here to the house.
This causes a bit of a problem between the two sisters.
You're not going up there to his house.
And then when Penny doesn't come back right away, Jane gets worried and explains this to Bob. Hey, is this a relationship that's starting? Anyway, Bob agrees to help and goes off to Trupp's place to see what's going on. Because of his distraction, Penny is able to sneak out, so Trupp lets the dogs out. And then there's Baby. Remember earlier she seemed to have health problems? Well, it happens again. And sadly, she dies. A bit of a downer, right, for such a fun film. And she was pregnant at the time. Yikes. Now, to make a long story short, in between musical numbers, Bob and Jane fall in love. Meanwhile, Trupp is illegally bringing Mexican workers over the border to charge the other ranchers a fee for their work. Eventually, Judge Steele, from both Bob and then Jane, painfully learn the truth about her lover. Oh, and Bob learns the truth about them being married.
We were married 4 months ago.
You never told me.
I didn't know how to.
Shocking. And it all comes to a head one night when the illegal workers arrive. Bob and Penny are spying, and Bob sends Penny back to get help. Another prisoner, a young girl who speaks Spanish, helps translate for Bob, but they are discovered. The dogs are unleashed. Trump orders the sheriff to take the two prisoners out and kill them.
They heard everything. This kid here understands Spanish. When you take Morales over the border, take these kids along with you and get rid of them down there.
Oh, no, wait, Russ, that's going too
You
far.
want us to end up in the federal clink?
Soon, all the other prisoners arrive, and so does Judge Steele.
Take them into custody.
Yeah.
Do your duty.
And we wind up with Penny appearing on TV doing a calypso number, and Bob and Jane living happily ever after with Bob's mom.
Hello, boys. If I'd known you would come on out of baked rum cake.
Go, Calypso, go.
You know, I'm not a lawyer, but shouldn't Judge Steele be in jail as well for helping with this little scheme? I don't know. Anyway, the music for this film was written by Lex Baxter. Lex was born Leslie Thompson Baxter and lived from 1922 to 1996. He was an American musician, composer, and conductor. After being a very successful arranger and composer for swing bands, he began writing music for B films, including The Pit and the Pendulum from 1961, Panic in Year Zero from 62, Beach Party from 63, The Miniskirt Mob from 68, Frogs from 72, Switchblade Sisters from 75, and many more. Eddie Cochran helped with the song Ooh Blah Blah Baby, and speaking of that, the one negative of this film is that Cochran only sang that one tune, Ain't Gonna Make a Cotton Picker Out of Me.
Bong, you can make me laugh, or make me cry, or make me roll, roll, roll till I die, but you ain't gonna make a cotton picker out of me.
In fact, Crow says,
Well, they sure aren't gonna make a singer out of him.
Hey Crow, Eddie Cochran was a singer and a very successful one. Now look, if you're only familiar with this film from Mystery Science Theater, you didn't miss a thing. They showed pretty much the complete film. So let's take a few minutes to watch some of the best jokes from the film.
What you doing, fishing?
No, just sexually harassing a few teens. Any really groovy city, USA.
Am I the sultriest person you've ever seen in your whole entire life?
That guitar makes amazing sounds.
Hey,
rich.
it's Greg Brady.
Right. Bob Steele.
Well, hi, I'm Rod Iron.
That's the deal. I get the labor, you push me around in a wheelbarrow dressed as one of the honeymooners. Your choice, pal.
Now there's a woman outstanding in her field.
Which one of those two have rhythm? I can't tell.
Hey, stop playing your sternum.
Well, since no one has any more lines here, let's just wander off this way.
That's a problem with today's youth. This is how their image of prison is. Hey, look at me, I'm still stupid. If anybody dances with me, it's by accident.
Hey, we gotta eat on that table. Get off.
Life's a bowl of filth, man. Look into the face of death. It's the only way, baby.
You might have a bad heart. I think you ought
Yeah, well, I'll have her heart replaced in the morning. Good night.
I'll just be out here if you need me.
You're real gone.
Well, thanks. I'm no expert, but I'm pretty sure I'm still here.
I'm gonna send you on an errand.
Up to Mount Pilot? Okay, I'll go get my one bullet.
She uses more peroxide in her hair than an entire MASH unit.
I know
a wiener man, he owns a hot dog stand.
So much the better.
I'm so sorry, he's from Barcelona. Cut. Okay, that's a wrap. Get the dog off. Okay, nice scene, everyone. Let's get home. We've got another scene to do in the morning.
I'm putting up with this.
Come on, boys, and carry my bananas.
What in the world does that mean? Carry my bananas?
I don't want to know.
You know, you can't start too early if you're going to be a cotton-picking rancher's wife.
Hey, watch your mouth, pal.
Now, apparently the dancers in the film were part of a group called the Hollywood Rock and Rollers. Unfortunately, I couldn't find any information out about them, and I looked. I was really interested to find out who these kids were who were dancing, especially like this guy and that girl. So next week, another film from 1957, The Black Scorpion, starring the one and only Mara Corday. I mean, who doesn't love a good film about giant predatory arachnids? Of course, this film has a precocious kid who stows away, and that's never a good thing, but we'll get more into it next week. Now, if you have any thoughts about this film, or the film I just talked about, or whatever, you can put them in the comments below, or you can email me at coffeewithjeff@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you. Anyway, take care. I'm going to go cut the lawn. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye. You're wonderful.